So this is just a dynamic sequence. So starting stretching your arms up and then just bring your hands onto your head, taking the elbows back and forward. You're going to reach back up and stretch right and left. Just try and make it nice and easy, so don't fuss, doesn't need to look like anything special. Reach forward and bending at the hips and knees, sticking your hips back and then forward fold to the floor. Just taking a couple of breaths and step the left foot back and reach your right arm up, or you can keep the hand on the hip, doesn't really matter. Nice steady breath, bringing that hand back down, step the right foot back as well. Knees down, just moving through to a pretty easy upward dog and back to downward dog. Just wriggling the hips around. We're just trying to keep moving, so not being too rigid. Stepping the right foot forward, left knee to the floor. And just turning the palms forward and then lifting the left knee. Step the left foot forward, squat, and then standing up, reaching the arms back, interlace the fingers. Reach the arms forward, hips back, and forward fold. And step the right foot back and just mind the cat if there's one in your way. You can lift the left arm up, but you don't have to. You can just keep the hand on the hip if you like. Hand back to the floor, step the left foot back, move through to upward dog, squash the cat, move back to downward dog. Again, nice easy movement, nothing too fussy. Wriggling around. Stepping your left foot forward, right knee to the floor this time, coming up to lunge. Sort your outfit out if you need to. And just turning the palms forward. And then just lifting that back knee, coming to lunge, and then stepping forward again into that squat position, arms forward. And then arms back. So I'm keeping my elbows bent, I kind of like that, but if you like stretching your hands back, you can do that. Arms forward, hips back, and hands to the floor. Step the right foot back and then the left, you're in a plank. Knees to the floor, upward dog. Pick the upward dog that suits you. Child's pose. Just do what suits you here. And just rolling forward to all fours and back to child's pose. And rolling forward and back. And rolling forward and just a little press with the elbows and back. Don't go too low, so we want to really keep a nice straight line from the shoulders to the hips there. Rolling forward and back. These are reasonably quick, but don't feel that you need to go as quick as this. Another one. Rolling forward, press. And with this one, we're coming into upward dog. And then stretch back to downward dog. Just nice and easy. Wriggle the hips. Stepping both feet forward. Hips back, arms forward, squat. Doesn't need to be super low. And then push to stand, arms back behind you. Again, I've got bent elbows. You can stretch out. And then arms forward, hips back. Right leg lifts, straighten the left leg. Come back down to squat. Left leg lifts, straighten the right leg. Back to squat. Right leg up, straighten left leg. Back to squat. Left leg up, straighten right leg. Back to squat. Right leg up, straighten the left leg and just stay here. Take that right leg back into a lunge. Get your balance and then reach the right arm up, left arm wraps around behind you just as far as it comfortably goes. Just turning the chest around to the left and maybe back. You might reach that right arm over the top of your head if you don't want to have it up straight. And just bring the right hand to the floor, adjust as you need. And you can have the left hand on the thigh, or maybe you reach it up, just go with what feels good for you. Left hand to the floor on the inside of the left foot. And then just bend your elbows, maybe just a little bit, lowering down a bit. You might feel like you want your back knee on the floor, and that's perfectly fine. Straighten the arms, step the left foot back, and move through to upward dog, just in whatever way suits you, and then back to downward dog. Wriggle around, and then just walking the hands back towards the feet. In that forward bend, and then walk the hands forward again to plank, and walking the hands back again into just a forward bend here. Doesn't need to be a big stretch. You can have the knees as bent as you like, and then walking the hands forward again back into plank. And we're going to move through to upward dog, just however you choose. You might do a press, you might not, and downward dog. And you can always turn a downward dog into a child's pose if you feel like you need a bit of floor time. You're going to step the feet forward and come back into that squat position. Left knee up this time, right leg straightens, and squat. Right knee up, left leg straightens, and squat. Left leg up, right knee straightens, and squat. Right leg up, left knee straightens, and squat. Left leg up, and step the left foot back into lunge. Just get your balance. Left arm up, right arm wrapping around the back. And it might just come around to your sacrum, or maybe it touches your leg. You might bend the left elbow if you don't want to have the arm straight up in the air. I'm going to bring the left hand to the floor and either reach the right arm up or have the hand on the leg. Maybe you can rest your hand on a cat if it's available. Bring the hand back to the floor on the inside of the right foot. And then I'm just bending the elbows to lower down a little bit. Doesn't need to be a lot. Maybe put your knee on the floor. Obviously, if there's a cat in the way, you might need to shuffle yourself around a bit. Stepping that right foot back. And moving through to upward dog. And moving back to downward dog. And just let the neck go. Wriggling around. We're going to walk the feet back. Coming into that forward bend. Sorry, the hands. Walk the hands forward. Into plank. Walking the hands back. Back into that forward bend again. And walk the hands forward into plank. And move through upward dog, downward dog, in just whatever way you want to do it. You can always take a child's pose there if that's where you're at. And bringing the feet back up to the hands. And coming up to squat. Just a nice steady breath. And push to stand, take the arms back behind you. Maybe the elbows are straight, maybe they're bent. Just stretching out the front of the shoulder. Doesn't need to be a big drama. Arms forward, hips back. And then hands to the floor, forward bend. And you might feel like you can straighten your knees a little bit more. Just step the feet back and move through. And just lower yourself down to the floor. And just roll the shoulders up and over the back. Press with the hands, just a little lift in the chest, trying to keep the work in the upper back for this. Keep your chin a little bit tucked in so you're not yanking with the neck. And then press from the hands and lift all the way up. You might find you want a bit more lift in the hips than I have. Just go with what feels comfortable. Push back to downward dog and then raise the right leg up into the air. And if it feels good, you might scooch it over to the side. Step the right foot forward, coming up into lunge. And then pivot round to the left, so rolling that left heel down. Open the arms up. Warrior two. Bring the right forearm to the thigh, stretch the left arm forwards. Then you might choose to bring your right hand to the floor. I'm choosing to wrap my left arm rather than stretching it up. Maybe you can unweight the right hand. Coming back up, arms out, and then wrap the arms around the chest, around the shoulders. And just a gentle bend forward of the upper back. And back up. Interlacing those hands in an eagle bind. Pivot back to face the front so the back heel lifts and follows you back into that high lunge. You might be able to stretch up with the arms. You can always keep the hands on the shoulders if that bind is a bit much. And then catching elbows with your hands, we're going to twist to the right and just rest the left elbow on that right thigh. Then you can open your hands to prayer. Just a steady breath. Then bring the right hand to the floor on the outside of the right foot and roll that left heel down towards the floor. We're heading for a triangle pose. You might find that you need to lift up a little bit or maybe have your hand on a block. Bend the knee or that side angle. Pressing the hands on the floor and just shifting the legs so that you come down into a pigeon pose. And just taking a couple of breaths here, so you might feel like you can bring your forearms down to the floor and rest your head, but you don't need to. Maybe you have a variation of this that you prefer. Definitely go with that. I like to keep a little bit of movement. I'm going to bring the hands to the floor, tuck the toes on the back foot. Take that right leg back and then knees to the floor, upward dog, and then back to downward dog. Take the left leg up, maybe you take it over to the right a little bit. And we're going to bring the leg through, narrowly missing the kitty cat, and coming up into high lunge. Hands into prayer, pivot right, back heel rolls to the floor, stretch the arms open into a warrior two. Left forearm to left thigh, right arm maybe up. Maybe you can bring the hand to the floor. You might like stretching your arm up or forward. I like to wrap my right arm around the back. Coming back up into warrior two, stretch and then wrap the arms and hug the shoulders. Just take a little forward bend with the chest here. Letting the knees be soft. Quite difficult when a cat bites you on the leg. Wrapping the arms into eagle bind, we're going to pivot back into that high lunge and just try and stretch the arms up. Again, you don't have to have this bind. If it's a bit much, you can have the hands in prayer. Then just bringing the arms so you catch the elbows with your hands. Take the right elbow across that left knee. And once you're in the twist, bring your hands into prayer. You can always chuck that back knee on the floor if that feels like what you need to do today. Bring the hands to the floor, the left hand's on the outside of the left foot. I'm stretching the right arm up, you don't have to. Coming into triangle pose. So I'm putting my left hand on the left leg. You might like to have the hand on the floor or on a block. Go with what feels good. Bending that left knee back into side angle. Right hand to the floor, back heel rolls up. And bring that left leg into pigeon pose. Oh. Once the kitten wants to give you a bit of a nip, it's pretty much the only kind of love you're getting, I'm afraid. So again, just go with the pigeon pose that feels good for you. Not really that comfy when you've got a cat trying to attack you. And you might stretch out, or maybe you stay high. It's all fine. Trying to get a stretch in the hip. You don't want to feel any pulling around that knee. I'm going to sit up onto the left hip and just wrap that right leg around the front so that we're in a seated twist. I've got the foot across the left knee, but you might have the foot on the inside. Just turning to the right. Pretty easy twist, I'm not trying to pull into it too deep, just nice and relaxed. Turning back to the front, and just unraveling the legs and wrapping them in the opposite direction, same thing. Now the left leg is over the top. I'm turning left, trying to stay fairly upright through the torso. Unraveling the legs, just laying down onto the back. And we're just rolling the knees from side to side. I've got my arms stretched out to the side, and you might like to do that, but you might not. If you want to keep the arms a little bit more central, you can do that. And take your feet nice and wide, and again rolling the knees from side to side. So this is just going to give you a bit more movement up inside the hip. And pretty floppy movement, so I don't want too much tummy switched on. I want it to be quite relaxed. Just trying to loosen up the back. We're going to take a little bit of time in Baddha Konasana, bring the soles of the feet to touch. You might have the heels close to you, or you might have them a bit further away. And just easy breaths. If this is quite a strong stretch for you, you can always bring the knees up and squeeze them together and then come back down into it. And then knees up and just stretch the legs out straight. We're going to have a few minutes here in Shavasana. Just letting the breath settle down, letting the body be nice and heavy on the floor. And you can stay here as long as you like, and when you're ready, you can take yourself out of it and enjoy the rest of your day.